This happened to me when I was a kid. Probably maybe I was about maybe 8 or 9 years old. My mom used to take my brother and I to Chuck E. Cheese's every now and then. And of course, I could definitely say Chuck E. Cheese was a pretty good popular place at the time when I was a kid. And my mom would take us there, and it was obviously a really odd, interesting place. When I went to Chuck E. Cheese with my brother and my mom, we played games, eat pizza, watch the animatronics, and play on the tubes that they have. It was a lot of fun. While I was playing one day, this was obviously something that really happened. Now, I was playing in the tubes with my brother and a few of my other friends I made friends with in that place. My mom was playing some games. As we were playing on the tubes, we noticed someone or something walking around in the Chuck E. Cheese area. We looked, but we didn't even know who it was. We didn't even recognize who this person was. It looked like a man, maybe in his 40s. He didn't look like he worked at Chuck E. Cheese. I know this is because he didn't wear any uniform or anything that resembles to him working at Chuck E. Cheese. We obviously think maybe he was just a dad of maybe of one of the kids that has, or possibly maybe a grandfather, or maybe a uncle or something. We just continued to play in the tubes and doing our usual thing. It wasn't long until we all of a sudden looked down, and the man looked at us when we got down. When we soon got down to the bottom, he ended up saying, "Oh, hey kids, do you want to come with me to my car? I've got some tickets for you." I kind of knew that this was maybe his way of trying to lure me and my brother out of the place, so we said no. But of course, the man tried insisted until my mom took notice. Sorry, sir. My kids are just, curious, that's all. My mom cut in. Of course, the man left with empty-handed, and he went back into this truck and took off. I honestly can't remember why this guy was trying to target me and my brother to get out of there, but this was obviously pretty freaky. I still don't know what this man was gonna try and do, probably kidnap me and my brother, but with that said, I never saw him again while visiting Chuck E. Cheese, and I don't know what became of it. This happened to one of my friends during the 1990s. I guess it was around 1998. My friend's name, which we'll call her Marley, was about maybe 6 years old at the time, and she was having a birthday party with her friends at the Chuck E. Cheese restaurant. Now, Chuck E. Cheese was kind of like a little place where, kids can go and enjoy, such as playing games, playing on the tubes, and even watch the animatronics do their shows. Now, Marley really liked going to Chuck E. Cheese's ever since she was a kid, and she obviously still remembers this story and still tells it to me and other friends to this day. When Marley was invited to her friend's birthday party one year at Chuck E. Cheese, the only incident they had was maybe a kid got lost in the Chuck E. Cheese place, but that was all that happened. But this story was honestly the most freakiest one that Marley has ever told. Now, when Marley did her usual thing when it came to it, they were basically having a party. However, it wasn't really long until something really happened. Now, Marley had to go to the bathroom, so she asked one of her parents if she could be excused, which of course they said yes, and then they went on. However, as Marley went down through the hallway, she could see the bathroom, and she immediately went to the bathroom. But as she went in there, she noticed someone or something standing in the windows, or at least the window, or at least the mirror of the bedroom, well, of the bathroom. Marley went over to wash her hands later, but then she didn't notice what this man was looking at. The man kind of looked at himself as if he never really knew what to do. Why was there a man in the girl's bathroom? Marley tried to sneak away, but unfortunately the man noticed and said, "Oh, hey there. What's going on? Are you having a party?" he asked. Marley replied nervously, saying yes, and of course tried to turn away, but the man ended up having more of a conversation with her. An awkward one. In fact, Marley did not know what this man was capable of, But then another woman walked in and shrieked when she saw the man. The man, of course, tackled this woman to the ground, pulling out what seemed to be a knife to try to stab her. Of course, the woman grabbed what seemed to be her pepper spray and sprayed at his eyes, giving Marley and their chance to boot out of the bathroom. As soon as they got out of the bathroom, the woman explained to what happened in the Chuck E. Cheese bathroom, where the employees had to sit there and get it. But of course, when they took a look around in the bathroom, they didn't see that man again, and police were then called later on and had to, delay the party a little bit so the cops can investigate. They only found knives in the bathroom, but they didn't find anyone else. They couldn't find the man either, even though the woman and Marley gave the best description of him as they can. But unfortunately, still to this day, he's still out there, and Marley has not seen him since. It makes her wonder, was he planning to try to kidnap her or try to kill her in the bathroom? All the possibilities still flow in her mind to this very day, if that woman had not entered the restroom. When my friend Jason was maybe about 15 or 16 years old, he, along with his friend named Joseph, decided to go hang out after school. And as always, they usually hang out after school as they didn't have anything better to do or anything going on for that matter. Jason, along with, you could already guess, Joseph, they decided to go to Chuck E. Cheese. The Chuck E. Cheese abandoned building they went to was at least maybe 45 minutes from their house of a drive. Now, since Joseph was 18, just a little older than Jason, they went to what seemed to be the abandoned Chuck E. Cheese place. It was located on a highway that used to be popular back then. Unfortunately, it was closed down around 2005 or 2006 due to, I guess you could really say health violation reasons, but unfortunately, with that said, that Chuck E. Cheese was never reopened. It was nice back in the 90s and even the 80s, but unfortunately since then, and the building has been abandoned for a long time. So of course when they approached the Chuck E. Cheese's, Jason, along with Joseph, decided to go inside the building. Unfortunately, the door was locked as they locked the front doors due to people breaking in and stuff. They found some boarded up windows in the front. And even though it was before the cops would show up to patrol the area, they remembered that there was what seemed to be a back way. They went to the back of the restaurant, and Joseph, however, broke through a window by throwing what seemed to be a wooden chair at it. The windows needed to be repaired as it was aged over the years. But of course, when Jason broke in with Joseph, they crawled in through the window and opened the back door and put something there as kind of like their getaway position. In case of other words, if cops or anybody was able to get in, then they have a way to get out. As they were exploring the abandoned Chuck E. Cheese's, pretty much everything was scrapped inside. No one to be around. They just saw at least a few furniture, some of them scattered here and there, but they never really looked at the Chuck E. Cheese's building before. Of course it was abandoned, so they really didn't even know what to expect. But inside there, they ended up looking over to see that there was some places where there was places where the games should be, and even the tubes and that. Most of it was all covered in dust. There was some glass on the ground, probably because of people throwing their beer bottles and even trash and other stuff. Jason looked over and said that they should get out of here as he had a bad feeling about what was bound to happen. Of course, Joseph said that it may be maybe just his mind playing tricks and just to brush it off and have fun. Jason smiled and did his best to brush it off and have fun. He even looked over to see where the kitchen would be, but as they went over, they heard footsteps. Jason thought that maybe there could be somebody in there, and thought maybe if someone was in there patrolling the area, why couldn't they just come out and tell them to leave? They waited for a while, but then they heard walking again, and they looked over, but they couldn't find anybody. They searched for the entire kitchen and found no one in sight. This was starting to get very strange as they had no idea where anyone was or who was there. All they know is that someone or something was definitely in the kitchen with them. Realizing that they were not alone, they tried to turn to escape when they heard a scream. They obviously did not know if it was a man or a woman, or at least someone, but it sounded like someone was being stabbed or something. So Jason, along with Joseph, ran out of there as quick as they can. As soon as they ran out of Chuck E. Cheese the way they came, they jumped back in Joseph's car and sped off. When they looked back, they couldn't find anybody there. And when they passed by the Chuck E. Cheese's the next day, they obviously could not find whom or what made the sound or the noise of it. All they know is that it could be something paranormal, or maybe somebody was in there, but they just don't know who was in there. They still, to this day, didn't want to report it to the police as they were afraid of getting into trouble, so they never told anyone about this story. Still to this day, they're convinced that they were not alone in that Chuck E. Cheese abandoned place that night.